Good morning. Good morning, everyone. I'm Sagive Greenspan. I'm excited to be here. And today we're going to talk about the disruptive in the traditional ecosystem. But before I dive into it, maybe a few things about Finastra for those of you who didn't hear about us. So we are indeed the third largest fintech in the world, $2 billion company, growing double digit, more than 10,000 employees worldwide. Some of the statistics, impressive statistics you can see here on the board. More than 50% of the syndicated loans in the world are on our system. More than 4 million loans opened every year. More than 70 billion worth of mortgages are opened every year on our system, and I can go on and on. From customer perspective, Finastra has over 8,500 customers. You can see we are geographically spread, more than 5,000 customers in the US, almost 3,000 customers in Europe, and in Middle East and Africa, we are growing very rapidly. Here in Israel, there are 300 people focused on payments, doing payments innovation day in and day out. Some of them are here in the crowd. Here they are. And we are doing payments. We have over 300 customers worldwide, anywhere from the biggest banks in Brazil, the Goldman Sachs and Citibank, in the largest banks in the UK, the largest banks in South Africa, the largest banks in Australia are all our customers. We are running the world GDP on our systems every 2 days. And we keep on winning prizes for being the best payment solution in the market. So now I wanted to talk to you about the topic of this presentation, and that we in Finastra, we believe that collaboration needs to come from everyone and needs to come from anywhere in the world. The real question, though, is how do we enable this innovation and how do we capture this innovation? And if you think about it, it's not that easy. How do you capture innovation from few students sitting in Malaysia? How do you capture innovation to a fintech in Colombia? And how do you give it access to banks all over the world? There are about 5,000 fintechs, each one with a great idea, but many of them have no access to banks. How do you change, hundreds of thousands of developers for a bank that are doing non-differentiated process work, turn them into a front office innovations? So we in Finastra believe that our mission is to unlock the potential of business and people everywhere in the world. And when we think about it, we have very audacious goals about it and very world-changing use cases. For instance, how do we take people out of poverty by closing some of the trade finance gaps, which is estimated in about $1.65 trillion? How do we free up trapped liquidity, also estimated in trillions of dollars, by circulating it faster, some of it on our systems? How do we drive more people into coding, into development? How we drive girls and women into innovation and into technology? How do we support disabled people that have no access to offices to do innovation for the financial industry, even if they're working from home? And I can go on and on, but the use cases that we can go about it are almost unlimited. But when I'm talking to customers all around the world, their day-to-day reality is a little different. They have, burden of legacy system. They have complex demands from regulations. They have complex demands from their customers. They have business processes that are often cumbersome and slow, that cannot make them go as fast as they would like. And they have a reality that is painfully slow. But I think that we need to ask ourselves, what if we could reimagine how the financial service would have looked like? What if collaboration could really be the new innovation? And the services would really make the difference in financial services. For instance, if we talk about the dining industry, look at companies like Deliveroo that connected, tiny restaurants in different parts of the country into millions of diners and created this collaboration. Let's talk for a second about the car industry. BMW. No doubt that BMW is one of the ultimate car industry, definitely the best one that I had. And BMW was uninterrupted for 125 years. They had few competitors. They knew them very well, and they perfected this machine called the car. Even their advertising, if you remember, it was called the ultimate driving experience, and it really was. And suddenly, one day, came the big techs, the Tesla, the Google, the Uber, and provided a whole new competition. They took the best combustion engine of BMW and said, we will replace it with the green engine, with an electrical engine, provided to their customers a different type of value that many of the car buyers were attached to. And then came Uber and said, we will not replace the engine, but we will replace the driver. And we will give all kinds of services behind it, different value proposition. And then came Google and said, we will replace the engine with the electric engine, and we will replace the driver with the computer, and we'll give you a green autonomous car, which made BMW had to rethink what is their business model, what is their advertising, how do they go to market. Looks a little different. Let's take another example. This is Porsche Panamera, for those of you who know it, and another excellent German engineering. Let's unbundle the Porsche Panamera for a second. That's how Porsche Panamera look under the hood. As you can see, Porsche doesn't make the wheels, doesn't make the tires, doesn't make the wipers, doesn't make some of the computers, doesn't make the seats, which makes you think, what do they really make? So Porsche are reusing, they liberated their thinking, and they start using a lot of reusable components in order to drive excellence on one hand, and driving the cost on the other hand, and creating a driving experience. So if you think about it, that's another way of looking at platform, and that's exactly what Porsche did. Ping An. Who in the crowd heard about Ping An? Raise hands. Very little. Ping An is one of the biggest companies in the world. It's a huge Chinese conglomerate. By the way, they work only in China. That's why most of you didn't hear about it. And Ping An, they started from insurance. They went into other industries as well. Ping An realized that they can take a lot of consumers, collect a lot of data from them, have a lot of computing power that can create difference in their business model. I'll give you an example. In Ping An, you can use a wearable that you get from them that check your pulse rate, that check your sleeping habits, can take your blood pressure. They send it all to them, and as a result, if you sleep well, if you're not under stress, then they give you a discount on your life insurance. Finastra people, that's probably not for you. Same for cars. You can connect your car into the Ping An systems. If you go by the speed limit, if you don't have sudden stops, they will give you discount on your car insurance. And that's another example of platform of how do you connect data and computers into your platform business model. I want to give you a quick story. Not long ago, I was in an open banking conference, and the moderator had two people on stage, and he asked them, by the way, one of them was a banker, one of them was a fintech, And he was asking the banker, what is open banking? So the banker said, open banking, it's an easy question. You expose payment information, you expose account information to anyone who has the authority. And the guy from the Fintech next to him, doing like this, rolling his eyes like, what is he saying? The moderator asked him, why are you rolling his eyes? Why are you rolling your eyes? He said, because that's not open banking. Open banking is creating a value across the entire journey, which means that if I move to a new apartment, the bank will help me do a house search, will help me take the mortgage, will help me move my utility bills, and will help me optimize my entire house payments, all of it together, and none of it will be from the same bank, and none of it will be from my bank necessarily. That's open banking. Now, I don't know if you know this guy. This guy, his name is Guy Kawasaki. Guy Kawasaki is one of the Apple founders, way back when with Steve Jobs. And Guy Kawasaki is talking about the art of innovation when you jump to the next curb. I want to give you a quick glimpse of what he's saying. Let's hear Guy.
The third thing is a matter of perspective. The perspective is to jump curves. Not to stay on the same stupid curve that you're on. Not to try to do things 10% better. When we were creating the Macintosh, we were not trying to make a slightly better Apple II or a slightly better MS-DOS machine. We were trying to jump to the next curve of personal computing. The greatest example of this occurs in the ice business. Ice 1.0. In the late 1800s, early 1900s, there was an ice harvesting business in the United States. This meant that Bubba and Junior, during winter, would go to a frozen lake or a pond, cut blocks of ice. 9 million pounds of ice was harvested in 1900. Their idea of innovation was bigger horse, more horses, bigger sleigh, sharper saw. But it was fundamentally wait for winter, live in a cold city, cut blocks of ice. 30 years later, we have Ice 2.0. Now we have the ice factory. Major technological breakthrough. It did not have to be winter. It did not have to be a cold city. You froze water centrally and delivered it via the Iceman in the ice truck. Imagine the breakthrough this was. No more limitations by climate, no more limitations by season. You could have an ice factory. 30 years go by, we have Ice 3.0, refrigerator curve. Now, it's not a matter of can you freeze water centrally? Can you put it in a truck? Can you deliver the ice to people? Now, everybody could have their own personal ice factory, a PC, if you will, a personal chiller. The very interesting story about all of these curves is that none of the organizations that were ice harvesters became ice factories, and ice factories did not become refrigerator companies because most companies define themselves in terms of what they do, not the benefits they provide. If you define yourself as we cut blocks of ice out of lakes, you remain an ice harvester. If you define yourself as we freeze water centrally, you remain an ice factory. If you define yourself as we make a mechanical gadget called a refrigerator, then you stay on the refrigerator curve. Great innovation occurs when you get to the next curve.
So this was, can you hear me? Can you, yeah. Okay. So this was Guy Kawasaki, and that's exactly what Finastra is doing when we jump to the next curve. And our next curve is going from mainframe into cloud and now into platform. And we introduced the platform called FusionFabric.cloud that is exactly connecting between our line of business and our lines of business and our customers, the banks, to the fintechs, to the banks, to the system integrators, to the university, and what is creating the feedback loop. The feedback loop is that more developers driving more applications driving more usage driving more data, that is driving, again, more applications. Exactly like Uber. When you think about the Uber platform, it's exactly the same. More passengers drive more, attract more drivers open new geographies that attracts more drivers and so on and so forth. So, we believe in Finastra that the future is open and is open for everyone. There is a saying in Africa saying that the most important step is your first one, but let's make sure we do it in the right direction. So, for the end, what's the call to action? For all the fintechs here and the banks in the crowd, start experiencing the ecosystem with us, connect to us and on board to our platform. Join us and grow your business with us. Thank you very much.